online. And I've got with me this evening two of my colleagues, Rabbi Igor Zinkov from the LJS, and Leo Mendel, who has actually been live streaming for the Board of Deputies. It's his fault that you get to watch those meetings online. And he's been doing that for a number of years, but since we've been in lockdown, coronavirus has really been assisting communities, our communities. I know he's been assisting Reform communities as well, connect with their members in these very difficult times. So I will be handing over to them for the majority because they are the experts. Igor will be speaking about content and creating the best kind of content to be pushed out online. And Leo will be speaking more about the sort of camera setups that you can have. I'm actually going to ask as well a little bit of housekeeping because I can already hear an echo, but that might actually be Leo. Is if everyone can mute themselves. And while the guys are presenting, if we stay, also the rest of us stay muted, and if you could put questions in the chat, if anything comes up that you think we're not covering, or just in general something that needs answering, I'll pull some of them out at the end and put them to Igor and Leo. Well, who knows? I might be able to answer one, but let's not hold our breath. Anyway, I just want to also just be clear as well that tonight we're sort of here to talk about the technical aspects of things. We're definitely not here to talk about the safety aspect and the various government guidance about going back into schools. We're not the best placed people to answer those questions. We are here on the more technical side of things. I'm just going to start with some very simple things that we ask everyone to do when we have them on screen, because we have three very important aspects of presenting anything online, be it a service or a session, what have you, and that is your lighting, your sound, and your camera. Now, lighting is often very difficult at home. I think what we've found has been working the best is trying to have bright lights behind where the camera is and facing onto you, and not too much bright light behind you because then your face is all in shadow. Sound-wise, when you're presenting, we always try and ask people to be using headphones. One of the reasons you're all muted at the moment is because when I come out of your speakers, it goes straight into your microphone, and we start hearing an echo. So that's why we try and ask everyone when they're presenting to have headphones in. The last thing, of course, is camera. Now I appreciate that not everyone has enormously expensive cameras, but one thing we always do, and it's something that you can test now, is we always, when people come online, ask them to just take a rag or a wipe and just hit the camera away. It is always surprising how much difference it makes. So there are some very, very basic bits from me. I'm going to hand over first to Igor. I can't see him at the moment, but I know he's there. Yes, I can see him. Okay.
I'm here, yes.
Perfect. I'm going to hand over to Igor then for a bit about content. Igor, all yours.
Yes, I am going to speak about content as well as with particular focus on Zoom. I can see. Can you see me now, or you can see Tom?
I see you.
Good. Okay. So I am going to talk mostly about how to use Zoom for services, because this is the preparation for high holidays, and it's Zoom for education. It's a slightly different topic. So we're going to talk about how what, in my view, are the best practices for using Zoom for services. So I'm going to share my screen now. So I'm going to talk for about 15-20 minutes, and then I'll head back to Tom. So on Zoom, in my view, you can see each other. You can have only one conversation, as opposed to when you are in the synagogue, and sometimes you can have lots of different conversations happening at the same time. But then you can share your screen, you can share computer sound, which means that whatever you hear on your computer, people who are watching will hear as well. And you can create breakout rooms if you want, and you can live stream and dial in. Dial in meaning you can use your landline phone or mobile phone to listen. Of course, you won't be able to look at the screen, but you will be able to hear the services. And it is certainly good for accessibility for those who don't have internet at all. At least they can listen to the services by dialing in. You cannot sing together. I feel like I'm stating the obvious now, because for me it's been 3 months now since we started, but just to cover the basics in the beginning. You cannot sing together. You cannot read together with all mics on. So if all of us will unmute ourselves, it will be a chaos. So what we can do, for example, we can say Amen together after a blessing. I can unmute everybody, we say Amen, L'chaim, for example, after the blessing, and then mute everybody again, everyone again. And that might work, this kind of interaction. And you cannot have a lot of control over the live stream on Zoom. And I'm going to talk about it a bit more a bit later. So the question is, so you have, in my view, you have two options of service leading on Zoom. First is just Zoom without screen sharing. So what are the advantages of it is that people can see each other, people can interact, so now there's a limited amount of people you can see on your screen, as well as the whatever I share on my screen. So, and in a way, this sense of community, of being together with people, is less present when you are sharing your screen. So when you are option 1, so just Zoom, people need to sort out their own to-do. So either to follow their hard copy of the to-do, or to have a PDF downloaded or on the website. So music is delivered by one person online. So somebody, for example, I can sing, or and many people can read. So I can ask some of you to read some part of the service, and people can see each other as well. So with the option 2, and this is the example, this is the example of this option. This is how people will see it on the screen, and this line. So this line is separation between the screen share and the people, and you can shift it. You can change the how the proportion between people, and it is not every person can change it, but you as a leader cannot control what others see. Also here on this side, you can see the button changing from the one view to another. So every person who speaks, who leads the service, who attends the service, can have a control over the view for themselves. Siddur can be on the screen. Music can be pre-recorded as well with this setup, and the same. Many people can read. That's the same, and people can still see each other, but less people on the screen. So let's go next about the live streaming using Zoom. You can live stream using Zoom. If you only use Zoom, you can only live stream on one platform. You have to choose either Facebook or YouTube. But you can have a third party platform like Restream, if you want to live stream on multiple platforms at the same time. This is not what it's about. Now let's focus on Zoom. So why live stream at all? I think that not everybody can have access or can access Zoom. So there might be some difficulty for people to access Zoom. And not everybody wants to see other people during the service or to be seen as well. And that's why you may choose to live stream your services, because some people may prefer to have it on the background and not to be seen by others. And live stream can stay online for people to watch later. Of course, this session, for example, on Zoom is recorded, but then you have to go online, you have to copy the link and send it to everybody who you want to watch it later. But if you live stream it somewhere, there will be one place where this service will stay, and people can just go there. It will make your life easier, I think. So now this is about the control. So the way you see it, you see it on Zoom is not the way how people will see it on the live stream, and there is no way to control it. So if you have a gallery view, this is what people gonna see. So you will see this is your Zoom screen, for example, on the left, and on the right people will see only people with camera or microphone on will appear on the live stream. Others will not appear on the live stream at all. And also the person who sets up the live stream. So for example, this is the change between speaker's view, it's speaker's view to gallery view. So the person who is organizing who sets up the live stream is in control only between speaker's view and gallery view. So, and whatever the person who organizes the live stream sees on the screen is the other people will see on the live stream. And this is an important part. So this is another example. So now, for example, you see it this way on Zoom. On the left hand side it's a Zoom view, but on the right hand side it's a live stream view. So for example, on the live stream view with screen share, you can only see an active speaker. So now I'm speaking, it means that I will be the only one who will appear on the live stream. And also I deliberately showed this picture because the frame, so my view will appear on the top right hand corner. And if you prepared your presentation, for example PowerPoint presentation, in a way that the text will be on the on the top right hand corner, it will cover, my picture will cover the text, for example. And also Zoom logo will appear as well. There is a way to get rid of the Zoom logo, but it costs a lot. So only higher levels, most of us and most of synagogues have professional Zoom accounts, but you need to go a level up in order to either replace Zoom logo with another logo, or just to remove it from the picture. So this is again something to consider when you don't see it on Zoom. So you need to make sure that your presentation have these places clear from the text when you prepare it. Then now pre-recorded music on Zoom. This is something which you may consider doing. And so option 1, when you click screen share, this button on your Zoom, you need to be host or co-host for that. You have two options. You can click basic and then click choose the screen which you would like to share, and then you need to tick the box share computer screen. So screen share, choose the screen, and then tick this box, share the computer sound. The other option is not sharing your screen, but share music only. This is, you need to go to advanced and then click computer sound only. And that's also, that will allow you to share to whatever you play on your computer, well, people will hear the music, your music will appear. One thing which is important to note is that all the notifications from your emails or your other calls will, other people will hear as well. So one time I forgot to close my Skype, and my parents called me during the service, and the call was heard for everybody else. But that's just something to consider. This is one of the examples of this is how the LJS service looks, and this is one of the examples of pre-recorded music integrated into PowerPoint presentation. I'm using now PowerPoint, and this sign is a music, and this is how it sounds. I cannot play anymore because we have professional musicians, and we do have arrangement with them. So so the next example of pre-recorded music is this was audio only. You can actually arrange video recording. I will talk a little bit about it later, but this is how what we did for the biennial service, and this is how it looked and how it sounded. So again, this is the video. This is the video which is pre-recorded, is embedded into the PowerPoint presentation, and this is how this was achieved. So how to pre-record music? This is, in my view, this is the best practice. The first, to record accompaniment. The second, to record one part, the main part of voice, and record the main singing part, listening to the accompaniment in your headphones. So, and then mix the accompaniment with the main part, and you can stop there. For example, the LJS does the services stops here, so we only have one voice and one instrument playing. And then, if you have other parts, you record other parts using the mix. Sorry, not the mic, the mix, using this mix. So, so after. And then you can add other instruments and other voices. So why it is important to mix the accompaniment with the main part is quite simple, because you want to achieve a you want singers and all instruments to be in sync, and just accompaniment is not enough for that. You need to have one voice as a starting point. And this is then mix it all together and then add the video if you want. So the video is the very last moment, the very last part of this. Other ideas for Zoom services include you can include videos and photos of your sanctuary or of your service. I know you may choose not to do it, but this is, for example, how it can look. So this is the view, familiar view for you. So this is what people see on the live stream, and this is the sanctuary, and this is the person, the service leader over there. It may create something, you may choose not to do it. It is, again, this is up to you. This is just an ideas. You can include videos of your sanctuary. For example, this is an example of what we decided to do for Torah service choreography. So the music plays here. Ki mitzion tetze Torah, ki mitzion tetze Torah, u'devar Adonai miRushalayim. and so on and so on. Music plays, and this is the video of the ark. You can also do it just to create a sense of the presence in the sanctuary, and this is and it goes down to another picture of the sanctuary. So add a short prelude to allow people to be a little late. For example, this is how it can look like. So you can play some music on the background, but then to allow people to be a bit late. And also when people, it can be done even on Zoom, so that people would see what's going on in the service, and maybe to use it as a honoring those who take part in the service as well. Use another camera to show the Torah scroll, and I think I saw Rabbi Yuval Karen on this call, and I learned from him, and this is probably the best example of doing it. For example, I'm gonna share my screen again. Yes. So, and this is how it can look, and this is Rabbi Yuval Karen is reading the Torah.
וידבר אלוהים את כל הדברים האלה לאמור.
So you can have, one option, so this one is actually used, I think, OBS Studio as your webcam, but you can achieve it much easier by just doing something different, by joining in from your phone. So you have your computer with you, and then your phone will be your Torah camera, and then there will be another screen, another box on Zoom, which will be Torah. You can even call it Torah camera, and then you can show the Torah scroll for people who are live streaming and on Zoom. So there are different ways of doing it. And use pictures to illustrate the service as well. So this is, for example, meditation before Kaddish, can be illustrated in some way, or Torah service and other ways. Be creative, and this is another way of using the pictures to illustrate parts of the service. For example, like to start a different part of a service. So this is what I've done, because I don't have a Torah scroll at home, but this is how the LJS's Torah reading looks like. So there is Yad, which highlights one of the lines of Torah reading, and I can move the Yad as well. And this is, I know that some people may find it nice to be able to follow with the Torah reader. So all of it is done on PowerPoint, by the way. So it can be done in different ways, but this is I'm showing you all on PowerPoint. Entire service pre-recorded, and this is another example of why would you like to do it. For example, for the high holidays, when the workload is enormous for service leaders, you may choose to pre-record the entire service and then just to show it on time. So, and a downside of it, which we did it for the biennial service, which I'm going to show you in a moment. The advantage of it is you can edit out all the awkward parts and all the silences, so it can go very smooth, and the quality will be very good. The downside, of course, you as a service leader, you don't feel as present, although I'm not sure whether it shows on the screen or not. But this is what can be done when you pre-record the entire service. So first of all, there are settings on Zoom which makes life of video editor much easier, and this one is optimized for the third-party video editor. This is settings, recordings, and if you tick this box, it will just be way easier to edit the video afterwards if you record. So the example of the pre-recorded video is this one. This is the prelude I talked about. So this was the prelude. What was on the background, we decided, because it was biennial, we decided to take pictures of different synagogues and put it on the background so that whatever members would see and see their sanctuary as well. So this is how
images of your Bimah or of your logo behind us, so that each one of you feels that we are praying with you in all the different
So this is the introduction, and the rest. This is how the prayer book looked on the screen, and with the service leader on the right hand side. This is the but it will be way more difficult to achieve this kind of picture and quality of sound online. So if you would like to make sure that the quality is really high and nothing goes wrong, then probably pre-recording is an option. So I think that's it from me. And Tom, what do you think? Is it better to take questions now or later?
I think probably. I mean, I've pulled a couple out of the chat. I think probably now would probably make more sense so we don't lose momentum from your part, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can actually answer the first thing I think that Alice asked about the presentations being shared afterwards. Yes, they will be. They are being so. They're on Reformed Judaism's YouTube channel. They're also going to be on our YouTube channel as well. That answers that one. I think I noticed there was a bit in the chat. People were a little bit confused about having the Siddur and the community at the same time on screen.
Right.
Starting my video. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, how exactly did you get to that point where you had half the community on one side of the screen and the Siddur on one side of the screen?
So we can practice it now. I'm sharing my screen now, and you will see the presentation. Imagine that this is the Siddur. And now on the top, if you're on the computer, if you're on iPad or on your phone, it will not be possible. You will only be able to see either Siddur or people. But if you are on a PC, on your computer, laptop or Mac, you will be able to choose between speaker's view and gallery view, like you would normally do on Zoom. And if you choose gallery view, and then you can, you will see the divide. I can't show you now because I'm you will see the divide, and you will be able to choose what portion of the screen the presentation will take and what portion of the screen people.
Will it look like that for everyone who's watching then?
No. Everybody personally should set it up for themselves.
Right, you've got to take them through it at the beginning of the service to explain. Right, okay, I think that's where they're. Okay, great. And also, what I think people were asking about what software you used for recording and mixing. Whether you had a recommendation there.
Right. Well, I personally use Adobe for everything. Adobe Creative Cloud. So Adobe Audition for sound mixing and Adobe Premiere Pro for video editing. But there are lots of other different options, and I think that there are lots of tutorials on YouTube, and to be honest, this is how I've done most of my videos and most of my skills. I watched a YouTube tutorial of how to do things. For example, how to mix audio, how to edit video, and yes, I had to spend hours and hours of doing so, but slowly it gets easier. But of course, if you have any questions, I hope I will be able to answer.
And I think you were saying, I think in answer to Barb's question about what software you use to put the Torah reading in Hebrew and English simultaneously, that was PowerPoint you were saying you used, right?
No, if you want to use it simultaneously in your camera, it is OBS Studio, and I think Yuval is here, and he might be the better person to answer this. Yuval Karen, Rabbi Yuval Karen. But the easiest way to show at the same time would be to use your computer for the general view and your phone to join the same Zoom call from your phone and use your phone as a Torah camera. This is just an easier way of doing it. Yuval, yes.
Yeah, just to say, OBS Studio is not an easy tool to use, but once you master it, you can do all sorts of wonderful things with it. In fact, Leo, I'm sure, is the more of the he's the expert. It's just to say that I have set it up so that I have on OBS the PowerPoint presentation and the camera as sort of entities that exist on one screen, and then I use OBS as if it was a camera on Zoom. So it's one of my cameras on Zoom. Complicated arrangement, but as I said, once you make this arrangement, and I'm happy to help anybody who's interested, it has its rewards.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. But just to clarify as well, that the moving highlighter, the moving yad, that was on PowerPoint though, right?
Yes, the moving yad was on PowerPoint.
Okay, fine. Just before we go over to Leo, I noticed that Kieran Williams had a hand up. Not sure if you want to just pop in here.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about an option that Nick Levy mentioned, which is to have the service leaders in Zoom, but other people watching outside from a stream, such as YouTube, which is what we've used, and it's been really successful. So with the ability to switch, which you touched on, Igor, the ability to switch between speaker view and panel view. So, for example, we have 4 service leaders, and for, say, communal prayers like the Amidah or Baruch or something, all 4 will be on the stream, and then you will switch across to, say, the rabbi reading the Torah for that portion of the service. And what you're switching between is what goes out into either Facebook or YouTube, and it strikes the balance between controlling the screen, not having too many people on the screen, people being able to have the Siddur next to them, and it just we sort of just thought it was a good halfway house.
Yes, this is exactly what the LJS is using as well. Only service leaders. The language we use, and I know that other synagogues do as well, is that Zoom is a Bimah. So whoever is on the Bimah is so you would, if you would, some synagogues have seats on the Bimah. If you are sitting on the Bimah, it means that your microphone is off and camera is off. But if you came up to read your part, it means that you need to unmute yourself and turn your camera on. And this is the best way to look at it. So Zoom is your Bimah, and Sanctuary, and for people is YouTube or Facebook, whatever you prefer.
It's also infinitely easier to train someone up to be the streamer in that way than it is to try and get them to use OBS.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Igor. That was brilliant. Thank you. And I'm going to pass now over to Leo Mendel, who is actually on site at Northwood Progressive Liberal Synagogue, and we'll be taking you through some camera setups and some other bits. Leo, I'm assuming you're there.
I am. Excellent. Thank you.
I will mute then. All yours.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Igor. Hi. This is going to be a live demonstration. Of course, I've got nothing planned in advance, so I haven't got the Blue Peter, and this is the one I made earlier here. So everything I'm going to be doing here is live. You are seeing me on the Bimah at Northwood and Pinner Liberal Synagogue, just to prove the point. There I am, a wide angle of me, so I'm controlling everything. I'm in one position. Some of this is going to be quite advanced, some of this isn't, but I just wanted to show you what there is possibilities and how these things work. So the first thing we're talking about is about the cameras. I've got a number of cameras sitting here looking at me. This is a standard camera that's over in that side, but I'm going to actually show you the difference between this and showing you a camera and going to a Logitech Brio camera, which is one that you would see. It's this one that's sitting here. So I'm going to go to that camera there so you can see the difference in the picture, hopefully. So this is the difference. That is the Logitech Brio, pretty much the one up from the one that most people will buy in a shop. And you compare that to, I'll go back to the cameras that are on earlier, and I'll go to this camera, and that is a digital SLR camera that I'm looking straight down with a very nice lens on it. It's not that more expensive, would you believe, than the Logitech Brio. You can pick that up for about £500, but the difference in the quality of picture, as you can see, is quite substantial. And that connects to your PC with one of these, which is a converter. For some reason, in the last 6 weeks, these have suddenly turned out to be about £12 on eBay and Amazon, and that's all they are, and that connects with an HDMI cable straight into your PC to do this. To do the changing that I'm doing, which if any of you have ever watched a service at MPLS, is done by the rabbis. They have something called this, which is called a Stream Deck. Sorry, not a Stream Deck, an ATM Pro Mini. And this enables them to sit there and choose the cameras as they go through to do the various different angles that they want to do. So that's how they do the various different angles as they're watching, as you're watching from home. So that's the camera side of that element. I then take this, as has been mentioned by a couple of people, and this is live into something called OBS. So I'm going to show you that is live in OBS. And as I say, testing, am I going to get the right thing? Yes, I am. That over there, as you can see, if you can look on it, is a camera looking down. I think you can see it in that angle. A camera looking down over the top of the rabbi so that they can read from the Torah. That's how we do our Torah cam. All of this is going to change when we replace our cameras in the next couple of weeks so that it's not all going to be here. But I'll show you what it looks like from the reverse angle. So, it's like, what does this actually look like and what happened to our synagogue? And hopefully you can now see it. I'm holding an iPad up and you can see that we have the cameras here. Now, the one thing that's really important to me in doing any of this is that you need two screens. Anything that you're trying to do online, where you're trying to deliver everything, if you try and do it with just one laptop, you're going to run out of screen space. And having two screens makes this happen. There is a really, really easy way if you're using something like PowerPoint. There's an option in PowerPoint so that PowerPoint only opens in the PowerPoint screen. So you can actually display PowerPoint. You can display the images there. So that's a great opportunity. Taking that further and looking at this in the liturgy, so I'm going to bring up the liturgy on here. Now, at the moment, this is a test environment that we're just testing out, and we're using something called ProPresenter. This is used by most of the churches in America, and you can see the liturgy appearing here, and the liturgy is changed as I go through, so I can actually see, and you can see the liturgy coming up on the screen. At the moment, I'm clicking on that to change, but coming back to me, this is where it all gets fun, isn't it, when you try and show too many things at once. This here is called a Stream Deck, and I know Yuval's got one because Yuval sent me a picture of his Stream Deck this morning that he's put that on his Bimah in Southgate. That enables you to program all of the commands that you want to do and make it a very simple action to go one after another, after another, after another. So to show that in action of what it would actually look like, and this is, again, I'm doing this all live, so every single one of this is this isn't me doing it normally, but I'm going to try and see if I can bring up and show you what it looks like in a live environment that was done in a service earlier this year. So when Northwood and Pinner starts, you start off, oh, you can't hear me. I've realised you can't hear me when I go to that scene. You won't be able to hear me, will you? Hold on.
Yeah,
We can hear you.
You can you hear me or you can't hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if you can hear me on some of the scenes because I'm playing around so much I'm likely to break it. So I'm not seeing myself that I can hear if you can hear me, you can hear me, but I thought I've knocked myself off. So what we end up having is on the scene collections, we're able to roll through various things, including we had a service about a Slovak service. We had the Slovak national anthem, followed by the Slovak ambassador. And then we went through and had, at the end of the service, we had a set of the stones that was done through the Kaddish at the end, and showing various different bits and elements of that. So I'm going to go back to my main scenes. Okay. Right. Okay. So that was my main stuff. But can you? One of the things when you're playing around with this, I'm playing around far too much than I should do in a service, and this normally crashes out some of the bits, or it can do, because I'm going outside of the bits that we normally do. So the next thing I wanted to just cover on here is some audio examples, and this will be fun if this works. At the moment, the first thing is Tom talked about is using headphones. I am actually wearing headphones. You can actually just see them. These headphones are £18 off Amazon, and I can give you a link to them. They don't have to be big headphones. They don't have to take up all there. But one of the things that people notice, and I don't know how you're going to hear as well of this, is what it sounds like on the different types of microphones. So I showed earlier that I was using the Logitech Brio. I've now got to find the Logitech Brio in my list. It's always fun trying to find each one of them. I can't find it. But I can find the Plantronics, which are standard style headphones. So if I put to there, you should be able to now hear me coming through the Plantronics headphones. So it's a completely different sound to the sound that you were hearing earlier. Then we can also, I'll go back again to the microphones that I was using earlier, so you should be able to hear those back again. It is important when you're setting yourself up to make sure you test and you hear what you sound like. As Tom talked about, the actual order of preference is audio is the most important, lighting is the next most important, camera is the least important. You must get your audio right, and I am worried that my audio isn't right, but that's me worrying about it. But that's critical if you want to be seen and see what's happening. So there are some of the elements that I've talked about. There's lots in this that you can do. There's also lots that you don't have to do. Just lifting your audio to being so that people can hear you really well. The way that we do this is we've got in here, and a number of other schools are doing it, we're putting in a Behringer mixer which we can remotely set up and control. So when there is a choir, or just a choir as in 2 people or maximum 2 people distance, we can do the sound tests and everything in advance and hear them from here. So we make sure that everything is working. The other things that we do is that all of everything I'm doing on this computer, as I said with this, I was showing you that equipment, that also can all be remote controlled. So it will be controlled by the rabbi if the rabbi is up for that. On the other hand, it can just as easily be controlled by somebody sitting at the back of the shul when we change, so we can move forward. What does this all look like, or what should this all look like? This is the bit that, as I said, none of this is planned and prepared, so it is, but we're going to see if this works. I'm going to actually try and run off my other PC, which I've got to find myself, and I'm going to share the screen on my other PC, and hopefully you're going to see the other screen. We can live. Right, you should be able to see that other one. I hate screen sharing, so I do it in a completely different way. So this is actually my screen using a virtual camera. One of the things we were going to talk about, or we may get onto, is other things other than Zoom, which is StreamYard. But if I go and look at what this looks like and the delivery we did of the High Holy Days last year, it looked like this. The thing I like about Cornidre is we are nearly at the end of High Holy Days, which means we can stop panicking when we get past there. But that is a great experience of being able to deliver it. And the reason we're delivering it this way, and the reason that MPLS have been doing it, is so that we can actually meet to the people who weren't there. On that point that I just want to cover, and then I'm going to stop from there, is where to. Now, Igor mentioned this about where do you stream to, how do you stream to various different places. From my experience, I always recommend that people stream to Facebook and to YouTube. The reason for that is that you get people who will tell you absolutely categorically they will never use Facebook, and you get certain people who will say they won't use YouTube. So you have the ability to reach to both. You get far bigger interaction on Facebook, but you get a bigger reach on YouTube. So it's important to go to both. So that is the bits that I wanted to cover, and I'm sure that Tom's going to come back with a load of questions. And I don't think I can hear you. Hold on, I can't hear you, but it's my end.
No, I'm back. Okay.
Oh, right. I thought I'm sitting here thinking, I'm thinking, thanks, Tom. I've either sent you to sleep.
No, I was trying to unmute someone else.
That's all right. That's okay.
Instead of me.
That's okay.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, we've had John Fiver with us as well, answering questions in the chat as they've come in.
Great.
Okay. I think mainly it's to sort of make some models of the equipment that you're using. I think people can see how you've been doing it well, and they want to get recommendations on the equipment. That's most of the questions we've had are based on that, especially the HDMI USB converter for the camera, and what your various. I mean, it's all basically the equipment questions.
Okay, so the HDMI. I can't actually give you the make because this does not have a make and a model. In fact, there's no point holding it close up to that camera because it will zoom out. It won't focus on it. But you'll find this for about 12 to between 10 and about 15, 18 pounds on Amazon and eBay. There is a glut of them at the moment. I don't know what the make and model is, but you'll find them over and over and over and over again. And they're well worth it. If you've got a digital camera that you've got sitting at home, a digital stills camera, you just plug it in. And if it's got a clean feed out, it will be twice as good a picture than any webcam. And if you think about it, the reason why it's got a big sensor on it and your webcam's got a tiny weeny sensor. The other thing that actually has a better camera than most of the webcams is is actually a mobile phone. The other thing I've got here is an owl. And this is an owl. If any of you have ever seen it, it's this thing sitting here that you may have seen with two little eyes on. It does actually follow the room around. So as people talk, it's normally you sit it in the middle of the desk and it follows the person around as they talk. And you can see, although I'm not going to move because I've got cables stuck on me and I won't go very far. But if you're doing, I know we're talking about services, I know that this has been very, very popular for classrooms where you've got half the classroom is in there and then half the classroom is remote.
And would you mind just covering how to stream directly from Zoom to Facebook and YouTube?
Yeah, okay. Right, so if you go and spotlight the other version of me, which you can do.
Yeah, okay, spotlight video.
So what you do, okay, so what we do is we go into Zoom, depends who I'm logged in as a Zoom. You don't want to unmute this at all. You just let me sign in. Zoom. Sorry, I've just got to get rid of the it keeps on telling me to unmute as I'm trying to type right in the middle of where I'm typing. Let me just log in. So when you're in the settings in Zoom and you go to Meeting Advanced, you can go down to the bottom of the Meeting Advanced settings, and there's a setting here about where to stream. As Igor said earlier, by default you can only choose one of these will actually work at any one time. So you can actually tick all of them, but you can actually only send the stream out to one. So if you send out to Facebook, you only send out to Facebook. I send out to something called Restream. So in Restream, what I'm able to do is I'm able to define where I go to. So the last Friday night, there was an eco service between a number of synagogues, liberal synagogues. And I'm going to just toggle this on so you can actually see it, but you'll see that I'll toggle them all on. So you can see those. I sent it to Nottingham Liberal Facebook, Brighton's YouTube, Nottingham Liberals YouTube, and so on, including Periscope, which is Liberal Judaism's Twitter feed. So I was able to send it to all of those places at once, at the same time. And that enables you to do all of that so you reach your audience where your audience are, the classic marketing term, to reach your audience where your audience exists.
I think
Igor,
what's important to say is that it's a third party. It's not something which is built in Zoom. You have to register for Restream. It's and as far as I know, it's there's a price for it. There's a monthly.
There's a monthly fee. It comes in around about £200 a year for the version that would enable you to go to cover most of what you would want on a shul. I would argue it's the same argument as anything. This is the time to be spending money on things where to reach your congregations. So it is a cost. I absolutely agree. I'm not saying it's free, but also I'm saying this is something that is important, or you may deem is important, or a way to deal with your congregation. Okay.
Okay. I haven't seen any more questions come from the chat in the last minute or two. I mean, apart from the ones that John's answered already, of course. I'd like to say thank you very much to Rabbi Igor Zinkov, and thank you to Leah Mindell. I very much hope that this has been helpful, and I'm sure that you will all be very happy for you guys to get in touch if you have further questions.
Yeah, I've got I'll answer something on the thing that Igor showed earlier, the service that he did all the clever pieces at the beginning and recorded it and set it all up. I then cut and did it. To give you some understanding of that, I put in about 6 hours work in actually putting that service in the actual editing and production. That was after Igor had done an amazing amount of work before. Was it worth it? I would say that service will still be one of the highlights. If you get a chance, Igor's given a link to it. It was a real highlight of what we put together because it enabled us to see everything. It's not live, but sometimes I would argue that not being live, when you're trying to balance these things, particularly on your high holy days, is to try and get these things to work. And the worst thing is when you're sitting there and someone's telling you to turn on a microphone right in the middle of the Amida.
I think what's also important to say at the end is that one thing is to know what technology allows you to do, and another thing is to choose or not to choose to use it, because this session is more about building up your toolbox so that you know what is possible, what's not possible. But then what to use and what not to use, I think, should come from your values and from what you want to achieve, rather than make technology to lead you. So I think that we need to make technology work for what we want to achieve, and not the other way around. And this is something which is for every single synagogue and for every single service to decide. Some things work better one way, and other things works better another way. For example, some synagogues actively prefer to have everybody on Zoom, so that to achieve the sense of community. Some synagogues prefer to have